For the month of October, I plan to review as many horror movies as I can before Halloween. Some might be old, some might be new, and any recommendations in the comments section would be encouraged. And I'm choosing to start here. Stephen King's It is a 1,200-page novel adapted into a miniseries in 1990 and then remade in 2017, only to be immediately followed by a sequel 2 years later. This is a review of the new ones and not the miniseries. If you want my quick thoughts on it, I found it to be really stupid. Tim Curry was a decent Pennywise, but nowhere near as scary or as iconic as people make him out to be. It's too childish, and even as a kid I found it to be really boring, especially the second half. And I'm happy to say that even though I really wasn't looking forward to the remake in 2017 at all, I very much enjoyed it. First off, having Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise was a huge improvement over Tim Curry. Yeah, don't forget to dislike this video. Also, the child actors all did a pretty good job. I felt as if only one of the kids did a bad job, and I'm not going to tell you which one. Rewatch the movie and figure it out for yourself. So the film opens with Georgie chasing his boat in the rain. The first shot we get of Pennywise is incredible. Very good camera work. The way his eyes are lit through the darkness and his face creeps into the frame. Really good stuff. Unfortunately, it's ruined by a stock jump scare sound effect added in post. You don't need that there. It's scary enough as it is. All that sound effect does is remind me that I'm watching a movie. I don't know why these filmmakers insist on adding all these effects. Just let me be scared by what I'm seeing. Luckily, the rest of this scene is really good. The kid actor was believable for the most part, and Bill Skarsgård kills it here. The way he's always got one eye looking directly into the camera, or the way he never stops drooling, just adds more unnatural layers. The tension it builds is really great, however the payoff is a little underwhelming. Listen to the way this child reacts to having his arm bitten off. Are you kidding me? He should be shrieking at the top of his tiny lungs. He's a little child experiencing his arm being bitten off and then dragged into a sewer by a clown, and he barely yells at all. Kids already shriek a lot louder than this over much tamer situations. So after this scene, I expected the movie to slow down a bit, but surprisingly it doesn't. The pacing is great. I don't remember there being a boring moment in the entire film. I like how they give each kid a personality and a different backstory. They're all really fleshed out, and I found myself caring about everyone. The main cast, that is. I did have some issues with the bullies. Not that I'm against bullying or anything, like in real life, but I just found these guys to be really cliched and stupid. Every time these three were on screen, I could no longer take the movie seriously. And what the fuck, is that the lead singer of Black Veil Brides? Glad we get to see him being eaten. The projector scene of this movie was shot incredibly well, and I think that it's probably the most effective scene of the entire movie. I also really enjoyed the scene with the sink in the bathroom. I do, however, find the song choice for the scene where the kids are cleaning the bathroom to be really odd. Kind of an out-of-place scene altogether, really. And also, while I really liked every single time Pennywise was on screen, I found it incredibly unbelievable that all of the kids would show up at Pennywise's house and not one of them brought any kind of weapon. It's dumb. While clearly I have some issues with the movie, they're mostly minor, but what I like definitely outweighs what I hate. This is surprisingly a good movie and one of the best horror remakes of all time, which really isn't saying a lot. I'm gonna give It Chapter 1 a 7 out of 10. It's closer to a 6 than an 8, but I'm giving it a 7 nonetheless. The next movie I'm talking about is It Chapter 2, and I think I'm kind of in the minority with this one. Most reviews say that this movie is an underwhelming average letdown, but personally, I would call it a below average boring piece of shit. How this was made by the same director and crew as the first one is beyond me, because this movie felt like one big joke. I'll talk about the things I like first, and let me tell you, it isn't much. The casting for this movie is really spot on. All of the adults look very much like their child counterparts, and on that level, they really fucking nailed it. Bill Hader gives a legitimately good performance, and he felt like the only character I had any sort of emotional attachment to. The guy who played Eddie was also really good, and that's where the positives stop for me. Yeah, I thought the entire rest of the cast was really unspecial. Nobody felt like they wanted to be here, and even though this movie is 3 hours long, I don't remember anyone having any sort of memorable moment at all, except for Bill Hader. It's really sad when the child counterparts are a million times better than you. And that is not a slight on the actors. I really like James McAvoy and Jessica Chastain. It's just the writing. Oh, and let's talk about that runtime. This movie is almost 3 hours long, and nothing justifies that. It is so boring. I remember getting antsy in the theaters. It's just a series of flashbacks from the first movie, and then the characters experiencing something scary and similar to the flashback, and rinse and repeat for every single character. It's so boring and unnecessarily long. I remember when I thought it was wrapping up, I looked at my phone and there was a whole ass hour left of the motherfucker. While Pennywise was the best part of the first movie, he's a lot less menacing here. I could tell the scene with the birthmark girl was just trying to capture the same level of horror as the boat scene in part 1. However, it was not. We have no idea who this little girl is, and I was not creeped out in the slightest. There were many times in the film where I found it incredibly difficult to take anything seriously. And it wasn't because of filmmaking mistakes. It was as if it was the filmmaker's intention. Like, the people writing the movie clearly didn't take it seriously at all, so why should I? There were moments where I was completely flabbergasted at what I was seeing. There's not even a narrative to this movie. It's just a really long sequence of events where the characters walk around a town and do shit. This is one of the biggest letdowns of all time, mainly because of how pleasantly surprised I was with the first movie. I'm going to avoid watching this movie again like the plague, and I'm going to give It Chapter 2 a very generous 2 out of 10.